So guys, welcome to my FNCS Grand Finals predictions. I just wanted to get this video in and uploaded just before Grand Finals starts today, so I can give you guys my take on what will happen in the NA East Grand Finals for this FNCS, right? But there's two things to note before we start. First off, there's a reason why I'm not doing NA West or EU or any other region for that matter. I do watch them, but it's not enough to justify a prediction from me. I will not sort of make predictions on things that I'm not educated on, but I do watch NA East a lot, and I'm really comfortable with all the teams, and I can make a really educated guess as to what's going to happen. Also, these are not necessarily the top 5 best teams in terms of skill. I just think that being uncontested is one of the best things that can happen for you in any final setting. So that's one thing to understand. A lot of teams are contested, and that will make a big difference in terms of why they will not do well in a grand setting. So let's get into it, right? First off, I really think Scented, Edgy, and Commitment will win the whole thing, right? There's several reasons for this. Number one, the last season, Reverse Day and Marrow and Scented, Edgy, and Commitment had a head-on fight where they were really close in points, and then Reverse ended up taking it. But really think that Scented and his trio can do a lot better this season, just because they're so close last season, but also because of the fact that they've been so consistent throughout all FNCSs, and they've been getting second for a long time now, right? So that's a really important distinction to understand, that they've been doing really good. They've been doing amazing, and they've been doing even better now, and I think that this is their season. This is 100% their grand finals to take, and throughout history as a trio, they've been showing that they have what it takes. So 100% Scented, Edgy, Commitment. Clearly they're uncontested at Misty, and they're going to do super well. One thing I wanted to mention before moving on to the next one is that Scented, Edgy, and Commitment are not scared, even in a grand final setting, to take edge map fights to solve their surge problems. That's one of the best things that I've noticed about them, is that they're not scared to do that, and they go for those fights. One thing to really understand about Grand Finals, Surge is going to be the name of the game. It's going to be a big factor as to whether some teams live or some teams don't live. And Scented, Edgy, and Commitment have a really good game plan in terms of how to solve it. They proactively look for Surge early on before, the zones get really small and it gets really too congested to look for any sort of box fights without getting third-partied. So they look for it really early and really proactively. So, and I mean, just the fact that they've landed Misty for so long has given them a lot of surge routes to, based on whatever first zone looks like. So that's going to be really beneficial for them. But in general, I really think Scented and his trio is just going to take the whole thing. It's been a while now, and I really think that this is their season. Next up, a lot of people are still underestimating Reverse Day and Marrow, which I don't get it. I've been looking at a lot of other prediction lists, and they don't have them top 2 or top 3, which clearly to me doesn't make sense. We've underestimated them for so long in the past few seasons, and they've always proved us wrong and done a really good job. They know how to get consistent placement without actually winning games. That's one thing I really want you guys to understand. All 3 players are really strong individually, even Reverse. So a lot of people don't think so, but I really think that Reverse is criminally underrated. So that's one thing to really understand there as well. But I think they're just going to do well, right? The last FNCS, they were really neck to neck and really close to it, Scented, but they've won the whole thing. And they have 2 grand finals under their belt where they've won. They have 2 FNCS championships. So, but I do not think they will be better than Scented, Edgy, and Commitment this season, especially with the little trouble things that they've had in as a trio, right? We had them splitting up. We had Reverse talking about quitting the next season, but I still think they have what it takes this season to take top 2. Next trio is Bugha, Nosh, and Avery. Now, this is an interesting trio. However, I do think they would do super well just because, number one, Bugha's back on his comfort role. I really think Bugha is IGL at heart, even though he's commented on the fact that he doesn't want to IGL. I really do think that he's strong as an IGL. All the seasons past where, we watched him and he was in the IGL role, he's always succeeded. But every time he wasn't the IGL, it was really difficult in terms of him to play the fragger role. Not because, he's bad as a fragger, but I just think that he's way more well suited for the IGL role. He has a really good understanding of the game macro-wise and really good understanding of the game in terms of what to do, and has really good communication as well for his trios and telling them what to do and how to follow. Now, 2 things. Bugha's really comfortable with Nosh, right? He's played with Nosh before. Maybe not as much as Avery, but definitely played with him. And he's played with Avery a lot, right? Back when he played with Jamper and Avery, he had a ton of experience there, and he has that chemistry and that synergy with his teammates. So that's going to be really good. But obviously, he's uncon, so he's going to be good there as well. Now, number 4 is Saf, Stretch, and Kanata. Now, I really think that this trio is amazing. Really good, really strong players. Saf, Stretch, amazing players. Kanata is one of the best PC fraggers in the game, and I really think that he can do a good job. However, in a grand final setting, when fragging is a little more difficult to find, and it's a lot more consistent in terms of, playing macro, obviously, Stretch is going to take that side of it, but Kanata is going to have a really good job of making sure that he's with the team and not going for stuff that gets him killed. Well, number one thing that I've realized in grand finals is as soon as you lose one member, it becomes very difficult to win the whole thing, unless you have an insane clutch, which is very unlikely. It's going to be really important for you to stay alive as a trio and say have 3 members. So the reason they're top 4 and not number 1 is the fact that they have Kanata, right? If they had Zay, oh my god, they would do so well, 100%. However, Kanata I don't think is an upgrade. upgrade. I do think that it's a somewhat of a different playstyle required, and Okada is not anywhere close to Z8 in terms of the macro. I do think that with Saf and Stress, they're sort of a macro-oriented team. While they do have the potential to do well, I don't think they'll do better than the top 3. Now we have our final prediction in the 5th place. We have Acorn, Jack, and Slacks. Now these guys are really, really good. Obviously, they have a great history in terms of being really consistent in the playoffs. These are past FNCS winners, obviously, and I really think that they can do it well as well. However, they've been slacking for the past few seasons and not been doing as well as they used to. However, I do think they can make a comeback, and this is their season that they can make a comeback in, because of the fact that, you know, in the last finals, either week 3 or week 2, I believe it was week 3, where they popped off and won several games in a row to clutch that top 3 and qualify for grand finals. That's an indication that they have what it takes, and they're not uncomfortable playing height. So they're definitely going to be going for that, and not, you know, scared to go for that sort of situation. And of course, they have experience under their belt being past FNCS winners. I think they're more they're a little bit more volatile because of their past history not being as good as it used to be. But in the last week, they have what it takes. I really think they've shown that. So the last prediction is not an official prediction, but I really think that P-God has the potential to do well. But it's really difficult because they're contested by Macwood, and it's going to be really difficult to do well at Craigie when they're contested by another good team. But I do think they'll win off spawn more, but it's going to be really difficult. If they were uncon, they would be top 500%, right? Because his trio is so good. They have Peterbot, who's been an up-and-coming controller player who's been, you know, really good recently. And they have TK, who's another amazing player as well. So that's a really important thing to understand. I would have put them in the top 5, probably in the 4th or 5th spot, because they have all these natural players, and Peacock leads the team really well, so he knows what to do. However, they're contested by Macwood, so Craigie is going to be a really bloody fight. So it's gonna be really tough. Getting contested in finals is really difficult to deal with. It's super hard to be consistent and get 12 attempts at endgame when you're contested. That's the part that really sucks, right? So I don't think they'll do as well because of that one fact that they're contested at Craigie. So that's it for now, guys. That's my predictions. These are my top 5, and I've locked it in. And I really hope you guys watch the FNCS Grand Finals. It's one of the best ways to actually learn how to play a finals setting and learn how to get better, because all the macro in terms of how these guys play is shown in the FNCS Grand Finals. So really encourage you guys to watch it. Not only is it exciting, but it's also a good learning opportunity for you as a competitive player. But these are my predictions, and I'll see you guys next time.